Hey everybody, you know us, it's the Commander's Brew. We love brewing new Commander decks here on budget every week, having a laugh while we're doing it. We're about to do an Ardenn and Sakashima deck tech, so stick around and check it out. Okay, here we go. It's Sakashima and it's Ardenn. It's a brand new deck tech from us, your boys, Commander Brews. Commander's Brew, not Commander Brews. That's a whole different podcast. The Commander Brews. It's all about that, just like high-ranking military official punching you in the shoulder, and you get that Commander Brews.
Yep.
But this one was a fun deck. This one started off with a little cracking some Commander Legends packs, seeing what I opened, and then getting inspired from the legendaries that we got in those packs. So I remember I opened up Ardenn and opened up Sakashima, which Sakashima being one of the pricier cards in the format.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, and like at the time I had no idea, so I wasn't like super jacked about it. But now that I've seen how much that card is, how expensive it is, I'm very happy about it. So it's a fun deck. It starts with it, because we got Sakashima, and because that's the way we're kind of leaning. This deck ends up playing like we have two Ardenns. That's kind of the whole thing. Now we have some Sakashima synergies in here, but really we're leaning more towards the Ardenn side of things. And let's just read the commanders that we're dealing with here. Starting with Ardenn. Ardenn is 2 and a white, Core Scout, legendary creature, 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. And it has partner. And then, of course, we also have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. Sean, you want to read Sakashima for us here?
Sure. 3 and a blue for a legendary human rogue. 3/1 on the printed text box. However, you may have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces enter as a copy of another creature you control, except it has Sakashima of 1,000 Faces' other abilities. Those other abilities are the Legend Rule, doesn't apply to permanents you control, and partner. I think the intended use is you would make Sakashima with partner a copy of your other legendary partnered commander as a way to get a double dip on Ardenn's ability.
Yes, absolutely. And that is one of the main things we want to do in this deck, being able to move around auras and or equipment. If we can do it twice, that's even better. That just helps the strategy. But like I said, also we have a couple little neat moves regarding just Sakashima as well as supporting our Ardenn thing. So I also just looked today on EDH Rec, and these are not two partners that show up on that website. These are not two partners that people have decided to pair together, at least very often. It's under the threshold of, I don't know, what is it, like 5 decks or something. So if you're looking for a different brew, this is something for you. Let's take a look at the basics, the vegetables here. What the deck is aiming to do on the whole is we're looking to enchant our opponent's creatures and equip our opponent's creatures, where we normally couldn't obviously equip our opponent's creatures. That's where we get really sort of unique. But a lot of this is based around control magic and stuff like that. Now, I know you're saying like, wait a second, control magic in Ardenn. That doesn't make any sense. We can control magic our opponent's stuff without Ardenn. We don't need Ardenn to move, like put the aura on it, right? Well, the great thing about Ardenn and control magic type abilities, by the way, control magic 2 and 2 blue for the aura, that's just enchant a creature and you control enchant a creature, is that we can move them around. Like, you can control magic the first thing that they drop. No problem. You don't have to worry about, am I using this on the good enough creatures? Take their Llanowar Elves. Who cares? Get some mana. Take their whatever else. Take their something small. It doesn't matter, because later on, when they do drop something good, you can move the control magic over to that creature. Other spells that do the same thing. We got Corrupted Conscience in here. This is the 5-mana version of control magic that gives the creature infect. So if you steal a big flyer or something, this card's incredible when it comes to that.
And this is now officially an infect deck.
Exactly. All of a sudden. Because don't forget, Sakashima will be able to come in and copy creatures, any kind of creatures we have. Now, it won't be able to copy the abilities that like Corrupted Conscious gives on it, but we can, if we steal a good creature, Sakashima can come in and copy that creature. So that's another line of play that we like to see in this deck.
Yeah.
We also have Confiscate, which is 4 and 2 blue. Enchant permanent. You control enchanted permanent, which is like kind of an easier version of like the Nicol Bolas one, which we also have in here, which then makes the permanent legendary. Luckily, Sakashima, we don't care if it's legendary. We can still copy it, so that's great. So that's the base. Now, I know I've spoken in the past about control decks and how like it can make people mad and it can make people target you. People hate getting their stuff stolen. This is very true.
Truly.
But if you're cool about it with Ardenn and you're moving things around, you get to do this every combat, right? You get to move something around. You can take something new every time. I think you're kind of better off to do that. So let's say like Sean's got a 5/5, Butler's got a 2/2, Mike's got a 1/1. If I take Sean's 5/5 first and do whatever I want with it the next turn, I'd consider the turn after that to move it to the 2/2, move it to something else. Because even if someone attacks you, you can still block with that thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd suggest spreading that around. Now, obviously, the game state and the board state will dictate what what the best play is here. But if it's kind of all the same, if you can just move it around to different stuff, that might be good for you. Now, you'll know best people you're playing with in the board state, like I said. But I would consider trying that out, and I'd like to put this deck together to try those things. Sean, what's another form of the basics here? We got to get some card draw going, right?
Yeah, sure. So SRAM, Senior Edificer, 1 and a white for a legendary Dwarf Advisor, 2/2. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, I don't know how many vehicles there are, but we've definitely shown a bunch of auras already and some equipment's coming up. You get to draw a card. And this is a great target for Sakashima as well, like in the mid level while you're developing, to get 2 draws off of casting things. That's pretty sweet. How about Misa Enchantress, 1 white for a human druid, 0/2. Whenever you cast an enchantment, draw a card. There it is again. And Transcendent Envoy, 1 and a white, enchantment creature griffin, 1/2 for when it also flies. Aura spells you cast cost 1 less. Getting a control magic for 3 down there is pretty cheap.
I don't know why, but for some reason the version that it's showing me on Scryfall for Transcendent Envoy is the French one.
Oh, I know why.
Did I spell I must have spelled transcendent wrong.
Yeah, you spelled it transcendant.
Ah, transcendant. Well, représentant transcendant. Colorless, a blanc. Yeah.
And just so that we can be complete, in German it's Über dieser Boot.
Oh, it doesn't. None of it beats my favorite foreign translation of Swords to Plowshares, which is in Italian, which is Das Bad, a Spieg. It has an exclamation point and everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. These are great cards, right? This is the stuff we want. Because not only are we going to be able to draw cards off of SRAM and Mesa Enchantress and Core Spirit Dancer, Transcendent Envoy is going to help us cast the card, obviously. Spirit Dancer and Transcendent Envoy become also things that like will get boosted. So I know, again, we've got a lot of like control magic type stuff going on here, but there is a world where we will be playing some other types. We got some equipment in here. We've got some other enchantments that do similar things that will also boost power and stuff like that. Well, there is a world where we're going to want to put that on one of our creatures and maybe get in. It's not a super common thing, but again, you'll see as we go on how that's going to be become apparent and become something we want to do. Okay, well, I mean, that truly is the base. This is an Azorius deck we're all about enchantments and auras, and in some ways artifacts and equipment. So let's dig a little deeper here and let's check out some of these neat moves.
Working on a
neat moves. We're just going to take a second to handle a little bit of business. And the main point is, thanks for watching. If you want to see more of our comedic takes and offbeat decks, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that bell to make sure you don't miss anything. And if you're loving our stuff and want to support further, the best way is to head over to patreon.com/commandersbrew. Find out how our generous patrons keep our show growing and how you can get in on the brewing action too through our Discord. Or, if you'd rather, just hang out and play some games with like-minded Commander players. Now, let's get back to those innate moves.
All right, so starting with neat move number 1. Sean, this is a simple one. You just go ahead and read it, and I think you'll be able to figure out what we want to do with this.
Skull Clamp. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. When equipped creature is put into graveyard, draw 2 cards. It equips for 1, and you cast it for 1. This is obviously great to wear on our own creatures, so we can kind of get a little insurance policy. If anything happens to him, we get a couple cards out of it. But if we manage to control magic on X1 from our opponent's side, we can just kill it along with drawing a couple cards this way.
Yes, but we don't have to control magic the thing first. We can just Ardenn Skull Clamp right on to our opponent's tokens.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, we can do it to them with Ardenn's ability. So Skull Clamp, if there's any X1s, 1 toughness creatures out there, Skull Clamp gets to move
3
over there.
Cards.
And because of the way it's worded, we get the cards from Skull Clamp. It's not the controller of the creature that dies.
Right.
It's who controls the equipment, which is still us. Some other cool synergies here. A little neat move with our boy Ardenn. Is our boy, right? Yeah. Captain's Hook, and there's 2 other equipment that are very similar to it. But basically, Captain's Hook gets +2/+0. Has some extra text about being a pirate, but that's not necessary. That won't be a thing. +2/+0, menace. And whenever Captain's Hook becomes unattached from a permanent, destroy that permanent. And it has equipped for 1. So we can, there is a world, like I was saying, where we throw this on a Transcendent Envoy, and we, it becomes an actual beater in the air. Same thing with Grafted War Gear. Equipped creature gets +3/+2. It's a 3-mana artifact that equips for 0. But when it becomes unattached from a permanent, you sacrifice that permanent. Stitcher's Graph, same thing. 1 mana, equipped creature gets +3/+3. Whenever it attacks, it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Whenever Stitcher's Graph becomes unattached from a permanent, you sacrifice that permanent and has equipped for 2. Well, again, Ardenn's just going to be able to put these things on our opponent's creatures
for free.
For free. And then if we move it off of those creatures onto something else, the original creature that had it on, that it was equipped with, must be sacrificed.
And those 3 equipments, cumulative equip cost is 3.
Yeah, that's right.
So for 3 mana, we can have 3 creatures dealt with on our opponent's boards.
That's wild. And there's nothing wrong with throwing a Skull Clamp on it, then a Captain's Hook, then moving the Captain's
Right.
Hook off and drawing the cards. It's pretty incredible stuff. So,
right.
I mean, this is kind of why we want more than one Ardenn, right? This is why Sakashima comes into play and says, I'll just be an Ardenn, because now I get to move 2 things at once. Now I can put or I can stack the triggers. I think where Captain's Hook goes on, and then we'll actually move Captain Hook onto something else. And you can get the kill in that turn if you want. So
that's 6 creatures down for 3 mana.
So that's something that is pretty fun to do.
And that's a lot of them have to get sacrificed too. So like the hook destroys, but the other 2 you have to sacrifice it.
That's
so
right.
you can get rid of indestructible creatures this way.
There is also I didn't include it in the I'll just do it right now. There's also a little card in here called Carry Away, which is blue. It's an enchant equipment aura. When it comes into play, you unattach enchanted equipment and you control the enchanted equipment. So again, you can use this, I guess, if you wanted to unattach a Captain's Hook, even though you do already control it. It's still 2 mana to get something dead, which is fine if they've dealt with your Ardenn or something. Or, more importantly, you can just get to steal someone's equipment, which is also pretty nice in a deck that can, we care about equipment over here. So Carry Away's got some nice synergy there. Check out this next one, Sean. This is a cool one.
It's the original flip cards, Kitsune Mystic. All the text is crammed into the top of the card because you have to rotate it like double tap, like 180 degrees. So it starts off as a 2/3, and it's 3 and a white. At the end of turn, if Kitsune Mystic is enchanted by 2 or more enchantments, pretty easy with Ardenn at the helm, flip it. And then when it flips, it becomes Autumn Tail, Kitsune Sage. 1 generic. Move target enchantment enchanting a creature to another creature. That's like, we don't even have to control or own these ones.
Exactly. And it's just what we do and what we want to do in this deck. I mean, yes, Ardenn gets to do it once at the beginning of combat, and that's fine for what we're doing, and it's pretty fun. But if we can flip the Kitsune Mystic into an Autumn Tail Kitsune? I feel like it's Kitsune. I don't know, whatever.
Probably.
Who knows? Then you're just simply playing one generic to move an enchantment to anything. That's enchanting a creature to another creature. Very powerful stuff, and when you get rolling, that ability is just... You can do it at instant speed, meaning that you can move your control magic onto something else and just in instant speed gain control of it. That's a very powerful ability. So this card, one of the best cards of the deck, probably. Super easy to get this going. Like you'll easily... Think about it. When you get the original, the Kitsune Mystic down, you throw a control magic on it. You don't even have to throw another one on it. You can just move the one that you already have. You can use Ardenn to move it on, and then it flips, right? And then pay 2 to get those off of it again and move it somewhere else. It's you can do that you can basically do that in one turn, again, if you already have one out there.
That's great.
It's a lot of fun. These are some Commander's Brew Classic cards. I love these. Faith Reward and Brought Back. Faith Reward, I'll just read Faith Reward because they're very similar cards. 3 and a white for the instant. Return to the battlefield all permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. These are great in this deck because... and we've got other similar things that return a lot of enchantments and stuff. But Faith Reward is really great because you'll do something where you move a card over, you gain control of a creature. You're not going to get hex. You're not going to get like haste or anything, right? So you can't attack with those creatures right away. But a lot of times you will be able to keep up mana because people will attack into those. Like your opponents will want to come in and try and kill those, force you to block with those creatures so that you don't get the full value of it. But you can just Faith Reward after you did that, or of course after a board wipe, all permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn come back, and then they can equip something new. So if there's something that makes, board wipes, it's like probably less good because you'll just get your creatures. Actually, it's not even less good. You'll get your creatures and you'll get your auras back. They just have to enchant your own creatures, which is fine with Ardenn because Ardenn will eventually move them around, right? So
right.
There's multiple ways, but it's never bad to have 4 mana up with the Face Reward in the face of either a board wipe or some important thing with a bunch of auras and equipment on it being killed. So Face Reward's great. This is a fun one. This was a big one in the Discord. This was given to us by I believe a couple of the patrons over Discord suggested this one.
Yeah, it's Captivating Glance. 2 and a blue as an aura, enchants a creature, but at the end of your turn, you clash with an opponent. Clashing means you both flip the top of your library, and whoever has the card with the highest? Whoever has the highest CMC about the revealed cards wins the clash. And then everyone has the option to put them on, to leave them on the top or put them on the bottom. So whenever you clash, you also give your opponent basically a scry. So whoever wins the clash gets the enchanted creature. This card was designed to be cheaper than control magic, but you don't always keep it because, your opponents might win a clash and you might have to give this creature away. Not with Ardenn, though. Like, you can just keep moving it back to... You gotta wait till your next combat step, but this is not that bad of a disadvantage.
Yeah, like you'll still get it, right? Like they might get it back, and if they do, you just get it back the next turn. So it's pretty fun. It works pretty well, I gotta say, and the fact that it costs 3 is really nice. Nice to get a cheaper version of those generally pretty expensive auras. There's also a nice little, like I said, occasionally we'll want to suit someone up, right? We'll want to put some of the actual equipment. There's not that much of it, but like I said, we've got some of those things that sacrifice, things like that. Well, they can actually turn your creatures into serious beaters, and it can be a way to victory. Helm of the Gods is a great card in this deck. It's a single generic mana for an artifact. It's an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, and it only equips for 1. So, oftentimes this will just be a 1 mana +3/+3 equipment that equips for 1, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you pair it up, it starts, and it grows too. It grows as the game goes. Also, like if you want to throw this on I don't know if it's my favorite creature in the deck, because there's not that many creatures in the deck, but Daxos of Miletus, 1 white and a blue for a legendary human soldier, 2/2. Daxos can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, so obviously very good to suit him up and make him bigger than the 2/2 that he is. And when he deals combat damage to a player, you exile the top card of that player's library. You gain life equal to that card's converted mana cost. Until end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana or any color to cast that card, to cast that spell. This is this is an ability that I don't really see in blue-white anymore, right? This is really this is like a blue-red ability these days. Now, obviously Daxos is blue, so it's not like it's off color pie or anything, but it's just a great mix of cards. You see this in blue-black, right? Like you see blue-black, blue-red-ish kind of feel. Like it feels like more of a Grixis thing. Anyways, so we got this great Azorius legendary creature that can wear some equipment, wear some auras, and get in for damage, gain you life. This card is very underrated. Very good card. In this type of deck, of course.
Totally.
Talking about neat moves, Sean. This might be the neatest move of the. These might be the neatest moves of the whole deck.
I'm listening.
You're saying you're going to read these two cards.
Infinite Reflection, 5 and a blue. It's an aura, enchants a creature. When it enters the battlefield, attached to a creature, each other non-token creature that you control becomes a copy of that creature. Non-token creatures you control enter as a copy of the enchanted creature. It makes every non-token the same, whether they come in later or whether they start here.
Well, we've gone around and we've control magicked all of our opponent's creatures, and like I said, who cares? Grab a Llanowar Elf. It doesn't matter. Grab something that they're not going to be super mad at you for stealing. Grab a bunch of those. Get 5 or 6 non-token creatures out there. And then play Infinite Reflection on the actual biggest thing on the board. And bam, there you go. Now you have 5 or 6 of those things.
Yeah.
Right?
Sakashima's Will is a sorcery that does a very similar thing. 3 and a blue. Choose one. If you control a commander, you can choose both. Target opponent chooses a creature they control, and you get control of it. And then choose a creature you control. Each other creature becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. It's a nice way to overwrite if they give you something dorky. You can be like, yeah, but I'm going to also make them all into these huge things. So thank you.
And this ends up being the kind of sub-strategy to the deck, right? We're stealing creatures to kind of... We want to do this, right? When Infinite Reflection enters the battlefield, attached to a creature, each other non-token creature, right? So we want to get a bunch of non-token creatures, and we want to do that through our auras. Now, here's the crazy thing, though. These are like the only 2 cards in all of Magic that do this. I for some reason thought that there was a whole bunch of these cards that did this effect.
Isn't there a blue-white one with that little changeling with the big eyes?
Oh, that must be a different wording or something. I know the card you're talking about, but I think that's all creatures become that, isn't it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Anyways, like there may be 1 or 2. There may be a couple outliers, in which case put them in the deck. Maybe I missed them because of like my wording and my searches. Although the Discord was right there with me. We were all like, man, there's only 2 cards like this. But now that you mentioned that card, Sean, mirror weave or something like that.
Maybe.
Take a look. It's a Lorwyn-esque card. It's from that block, one of those blocks.
It is Mirror Weave.
Mirror Weave.
Yeah, that affects the whole board, not just your stuff.
So, that's not terrible. That's still in line. I would still definitely think about including that card in this deck. In fact, I probably would include it. That might be why, because I think I might have been searching for just stuff that changes my own field, right? But yeah, This is kind of our sub-strategy, and I think that, again, it's, you can't just be building up tokens, because for each thing, it's mostly like the Infinite Reflections is all non-tokens, unfortunately. So anyways, yeah, there we go. Also, Sakashima, if you have Sakashima and you have turned Sakashima into a copy of any whatever legendary creature, you can then have it be a whole host of legendary creatures. So if you have something like, a stolen Atali,
Wow.
I'm just saying,
Even
obviously,
a gore claw's insane.
right? I'm just saying any sick creature, right? Like any sick legendary creature. Well, you can turn your whole board into those legendary creatures. The legendary rule doesn't apply at that point. That's where the fun starts.
Anything with Annihilator on it?
Absolutely, yeah. Just turn it into a bunch of the big Eldrazi.
Wow.
You'd love to do it. You'd love to have that happen.
You would.
So yeah, there's still two more things I wanted to touch on here. First is Bruna, Light of Alabaster, is a great card in this deck because not only do we have a lot of the stuff in the deck where we can pull enchantments back to our hand. We have like that. There's an artifact that does that. We have the face reward. But Bruna's incredible because of her ability. So Bruna's 3 white, blue. So 6 total for a 5/5 legendary angel. Flying and vigilance. When she attacks or blocks, you may attach to it any number of auras on the battlefield, and you may put onto the battlefield, attached to it, any number of aura cards that would enchant it from your graveyard and or hand. Every time I read Bruna, I'm just blown away by these abilities. I used to have a Bruna deck, and it was, for back then when we were playing, it was like very, very good. So Bruna just gets all of your auras out onto the battlefield, and they all are attached to her. So they get it all from the graveyard, they get it all from wherever else. Now you may, right? So you don't have to take things off of things that exist already. You can leave all your other control magics out there or whatever. But again, you can take them from the graveyard from your hand. They're all going to be on Bruna, and then of course Ardenn's going to be able to move those around. So like you're just happy to have that happen. It's great. Gets really good Bruna with the equipment, the Helm of the Gods, because she brings everything back. So Helm of the Gods gets really big, So it's a lot of fun. Really, really good. Finally, these last two, I learned this lesson from our friends over at the CCO podcast. I can't remember. It's an older episode of theirs, but it's their copy clone deck. It's where they talked about using stuff that draws your opponent's cards because you want your opponents to be doing things. You want your opponents to be playing cards. So these next two are really good for that.
Right, Temple Bell, 3 for an artifact, tap. Each player draws a card. Ding, ding, ding. Everyone loves you. And then Kami of the Crescent Moon, little blue Buttman. Blue, legendary spirit, 1/3. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. These are cards that your opponents like to see because, as you say, that draws them cards. They get to do more things. And since we're looking to copy, more targets for us.
And here's the secret about playing against a deck like this. Like, you kind of just have to play it out. Like, obviously, don't play something that they're going to steal and kill you with right away or anything. But it's kind of better to like just play out your stuff, get it out there, kind of like trying overwhelming them, like because you can't play corrupted conscious every turn. You can't play, you only have so many of these, and so like just play against them. Like don't get into the thing where you're holding back all your creatures and you're afraid to play something because they'll steal it. I really think that if the whole table might have to team up on the person, but just play it and get after that person if they're becoming a problem. That's why on our side where we're playing this deck, move it around, shift it around. Don't try to draw as less attention as possible while playing the stealing deck, which can be hard. So you might have to politic a little bit. But these two cards, Temple Bell and Kami, are going to go a long way with that politicking. Maybe take their second best thing, knowing that we can then later, drop infinite reflections on their actual best thing, right? So, and these cards will help us dig to that. So hopefully that'll be a nice strategy there. Woo! Let me tell you, this was a lot of fun. This deck, it's a lot of fun to think about because a little off the beaten path. It's using an ability we don't see that often, where you get to free equip, and attach stuff that's already on the battlefield. Like that's a very cool ability from Ardenn. Sakashima, the legendary rule doesn't apply. Like that's a lot of fun. Another great thing about that is that you can steal multiple of the same commanders if that's available to you, right?
Right.
If you have a Sakashima out there, so that's nice. But yeah, it's a cool it's a unique angle on this type of thing, I think, and it's a lot of fun. Our Discord helpers, it was over a really long period of time, so it was tough to nail them all down. But I know like all the people you hear us say basically every week we're in there. Your chiefies, your your Dylans, our Papadios, anyways, we had all these guys were in there helping us out with this deck. Dio Maxis always coming with the spice, like Sean said last episode. It's very true. Everyone coming with the spice on this one, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks always to our Discord helpers for really helping pull this deck together. Well, we talked about. Come to the end of the main portion of the deck here. We've talked about our Discord folks. That means that it is, I believe, time for the budget report. This one, I'm very happy to report, is a very inexpensive deck. We're looking at a TCG mid of around $80. Depending on versions and stuff like that, and a low of around. It was I found it to be mid to low 40s. So that's pretty nice. You can even get this lower. Now, normally we don't include the commander if it's really pricey, because we're always it's a new set. Maybe you open this commander or something. So this is counting the $20 to $24 Sakashima that you can get. So if you already have Sakashima, if you're like me and you were lucky enough to crack one in a pack, you're looking at a $55 deck here, and that's just the mid price. So that's pretty sweet. So otherwise it's still not out of the realm of possibilities that you just pick one up and put this deck together, because it is a lot of fun. Some of the more expensive cards, though, we had Rite of Replication, which I guess I'm not surprised this card is up and around $650, because we have talked about it before, but it's a very good commander card, obviously, so I guess that makes sense. $650 is getting to be a lot for me personally, though. It's a card I kind of take out of some decks. Some decks really want it, like this one, but some it's you can find similar abilities.
Sure. The next most expensive card is Overwhelming Splendor. That's the Aura Curse that enchants a player for 6 white. Enchanted creatures that enchanted player controls lose all abilities and have base power toughness 1/1. And the enchanted player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities or loyalty abilities. So it's just down to planeswalkers and mana dorks.
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention is that Ardenn moves auras onto players as well if you want. So
right.
Being able to slide an Overwhelming Splendor off of someone and onto another person can be a really interesting and important move to make in your game. So that 8 mana aura has some what's it called, maneuverability there. And finally, we mentioned it already, but Skull Clamp is almost $5 USD these days, this is a card that fluctuates because they do reprint it a lot. So you can find versions for cheaper than this a lot of the time. And then some versions are a little higher. The one I saw was $450, and I feel like I've seen this for cheaper. Maybe it's had a recent kind of climb back up, but it is one of those ones that we just play it so much. It's so good. Commander decks just want this card no matter what you're doing, really. So really good. If we're talking about no budget limit, I didn't have anything specific. I thought maybe if budget was no option, it wasn't a problem for you, I think maybe some of the swords might work out, actually, because depending on if you wanted to lean on a little bit more of the suit up your own guys occasionally kind of thing. There wasn't anything that was really pricey that was really on theme for us that was prohibitive. You can obviously play some big cards, some expensive cards like Mana Drain and stuff like that, obviously, but yeah, maybe some neat equipment might be something to think about there. All right, well, we've talked about our budget, and I believe we did get an invitation.
Ooh, yeah.
To a very prestigious award show. Sean, do you have any indication as to what that may be?
Yes.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
What is it?
Yes, I do. It is the 69th Annual Audric Awards.
Nice. Oh, wow. Wonderful. Oh, wonderful to be here. Oh wow, look at that, Sean. It's Sakashima. Sakashima is here. I almost didn't recognize you under your Krark mask, but I could definitely tell because goblins don't wear that much blue.
And hello to Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah, sure. Jim Carrey, Canadian comedy icon. Jim Carrey.
A world comedy icon,
True.
really, if you think about his canon.
Yeah, that's true. Although if you watch Entertainment Tonight Canada, they will remind you every single time they ever mention his name that he's Canadian. They do that with every Canadian celebrity. Anyways, Sean, we've got the duty tonight of introducing and presenting a wonderful award, and this award is one that really hits home for me. It's really something special, and I want to give away tonight the award for my favorite counterspell art, and the award for my favorite counterspell art goes to Tempest Counterspell Art. Yes, that's right. Thank you. Yes, that's right. It's the Audrix. Counterspell from Tempest has won. Blue, counter target spell. The weird red mage getting completely owned by some blue mage countering their spell. What is this bizarre getup they're wearing? What spell were they trying to cast? Looks like may have been a lightning bolt. Why are they just standing in front of that brick wall? Is that the outside of an elementary school, or were they trying to do stand-up? What's happening in this card?
I mean, it was probably a lousy spell in the first place.
It's something with red electricity, something. And I just love how that part of their, whatever that thing they're wearing, they got like a robe on, but there's part of it that comes up and covers the chin, which you can always tell that you're part of some kind of evil organization if your headpiece encompasses the chin as well. Feels like either you're outer space Flash Gordon or some kind of weird cult. Well, there you have it. Counterspell from Tempest. Thank you very much. Also, get a load of that face. That is just the face of a surprised mage. I love it so much. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thank you, the Tempest Counterspell. And thanks, everyone. We will see you all next week right here back on Commander's Brew. Goodbye.
Good night.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.